Hello, Pete. How are you?
Well, thanks, William.
It's it must be pretty hectic in there today. It's a lot of scrambling around. Belfast Friday, Cape Town Wednesday. It's concentrates the mind.
Yeah, it does really. I mean, as we said last week, there's a huge amount that goes on in the background and making sure everything's in place. Should you win that quarterfinal, I'm sure it's the same for all teams. So a lot of it, the plans were in place. It was just pushing the button on those. But no, it's exciting. You want to have that kind of organizational challenge and obviously be getting the rugby piece right alongside it. So no, it's been a good day today and lots of hard work going on.
Is there any chance for any other players to force their way in, or are you really restricted to the players that were selected for last week, plus maybe the add-ons? Is there a training session today that they could have put up their hand, or is that very difficult?
Look, I think when the team's winning, I think it's always going to be more challenging for players to force their way into the 15 or force their way into the 23. I think that's natural. That said, we were able to have a good training session today, double day for us with units in the morning and a team session in the afternoon. So certainly in that respect, you're looking at the wider squad. We've got a good idea in terms of who we're going to take, obviously. But no, you're trusting guys that have got the job done so far. But then you're also looking specifically, is there anyone who can add something specific to that game plan that we've got for the Stormers as well? So it's a bit of a balance, but you're right. Certainly the guys that are playing are in the driving seat.
Is there any major examination of the opportunities that were left behind? I mean, it was a fantastic win and a great performance, but consensus was you could have won that game by a lot more. There was 2 or 3 clear-cut chances. Have you looked at those, or is that just something that you have to accept didn't quite work?
No, we've absolutely looked at those things. I think, if you look at aspects of our game, we were really satisfied with against Ulster. We're up against a team that we knew wanted a huge amount of possession and obviously thrive off those access points into your 22. So, some of the key markers for us, we did a really good job on it. At the same time, in terms of, our points per entry, into the opposition 22, we're down about 1.5, and for us that's probably 50% of where we want to be as a starting point. So we looked at that today as a team. We looked at that in our unit groups as well, and the players presented themselves on some of those opportunities. They showed them back to each other at lunchtime's team meeting, and they talked about what they could have done better. They talked about what we can fix this week to make sure we get a better return on the weekend coming. So no, we had a pretty blunt review around that, and it's exciting because there are opportunities for growth, and we get another game, which is brilliant, but it's also another week for us to improve, and you've got to address some of those issues if you're going to make sure you keep moving forwards, because we've got a great challenge this week as well.
It seemed on Friday, and I keep going back to that because you won the game the way it was sort of set out. You attacked Ulster at the breakdown. You stopped them getting the possession. They went lateral because the defence line was up really, really hard. So can you identify anything in the Stormers and under maybe in inverted commas a weakness that you can actually exploit? Is that how you're working that team?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say I think the bits we targeted around that Ulster game we executed pretty well in terms of strategy and in terms of access points. We thought we could get to the game, but also ways of preventing them getting into their flow. I'd like to think we go up against every opponent with a really clear idea of where some of those access points might be, and we've got I think a pretty thorough plan for the Stormers this week. They're a strong team, and they've got some terrific players. They're at home. They're the reigning champions. There's a huge amount that we have to respect about them, but we also have a really clear plan about how we're going to go about it, and that gives us confidence and it gives us clarity, and we look forward to having that opportunity on the weekend.
And they're very pleased you beat Ulster because it's given them a home semi-final, and you won't be able to get in under the radar either. I was on a press conference there earlier, and they're pretty aware of what Connacht can bring. Just the logistics of when you go down, how much training will you do? How much the captain's run, obviously, but is this really a light week? I mean, that was a hard game on Friday.
Yeah, look, I think it was always going to be a bit of a lighter week. As you said, the games at this end of the competition are pretty attritional anyway. So you've got to make sure that players have a chance to freshen up physically and mentally. And then also throwing in the travel. At the same time, you're at a stage where, you're really clear. I think all teams that are at this stage of the competition, they know how they want to play. They know what they look like when they're at their best. And, you know what you need to polish in order to maybe raise the standard for the following week. So I don't think there's a huge amount of training required for anyone at this point. For us, we trained well today. We've had a double day today with that Friday night game against Ulster. It gives us the extra recovery day. So I suppose today for us, it's a bit of a combination of a typical Monday and a typical Tuesday. So tomorrow, Tuesday real time, we'll travel and we'll arrive Wednesday morning in Cape Town. We'll have Wednesday to acclimatise and I suppose recover from the travel and have a few informal meetings, and then we'll get a good training session in on Thursday before captains run Friday. So it's actually quite a nice flow to the week considering the travel that's in it, and the fact we're at sea level, the fact that there's only an hour in the time difference. That there's certainly no excuses in there for us not putting on a performance. So I think the guys are excited about that, and they'll be ready to go.
Well, so will we. We're really looking forward to it. Have a safe trip down, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, William. Appreciate it.
Thanks, William. We'll come to Mike Lennon and RT next. And just a reminder that this is all live content for now.
Hi, Pete. How are you? When you win a match like you did on Friday, there can be, you could live off that buzz for as long as you want. But how do you make sure that the players have kind of put that behind them, that, because this is the last time to be on Irish soil, or sorry, at home soil for a while. They'll sign off like that, but there's a job to be done here. How do you make sure that they're completely focused on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a couple of aspects. I think one is looking at the parts of the Ulster game that we thought we could have done better and we thought we should have done better. And as I said earlier, that's part of that ongoing growth and making sure we use every week as a chance to improve and grow as a group. So I think in terms of how we review the game, that's an important thing. It's not just pats on the back and pulling out the highlights package, because other people will do that for you, whereas it's for us to make sure we keep improving. I think the other thing is to respect where we're at with the competition. Before the Ulster game, I said to the players, actually at the hotel before we left for the stadium, I said, we genuinely believe that you guys, that we deserve that opportunity of the quarterfinal. And, it says a lot about us that we earned that spot. But thereafter, all that matters is what happens next. And we had to go out and start from scratch and build the respect and build the performance that will get us into a semi. And now we're in a semi. We're getting pats on the back for that. And again, I think the lads fully deserve that. But what matters is what we do next. And, the guys are still very focused and still very hungry for that. So it's just steering them in the right direction around the next challenge. And, and they'll rip into that, no doubt, as ever.
For the players who were there in 2016, have they been bringing up that? I mean, because you're so close to that again, even though maybe you could be considered in bonus territory, but you're only 2 games away from a final. Have the players from 2016, have they anything extra to say to stress how close you can be again?
They've not referenced it specifically. I think there's probably a respect that this is a fresh challenge and it's different now. So it's not something that they've drawn on. It's certainly something the supporters have drawn on. There were lots of guys sort of meeting us in the car park on the way out of Kingspan on Friday night that were bringing it up a fair bit. But in-house, there's not been any mention of that. I think where the value in it comes, though, is those players have that experience of being at the sharp end of competitions. And, there's not that novelty value or that overexcitement from being here. There's a real focus that knowing that actually there's more work to do. So if anything, it probably helps ground the group and, looking to some of those guys that have been here before, it just helps everyone prepare. So I think that's their value in this sense.
Thanks, Pete. Good luck.
Thanks, Mike. Cheers.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, we'll go into the embargo section for tomorrow morning, and we'll go with this until 4:21. So we will open the floor for anyone who wants to come in.
Hi, Pete. I'll just do one because there's a lot of people on the call. Just in terms of the match, looking at the match itself, I mean, I'm assuming it'll be a different kind of game. I know it's a semi-final, but have you that anticipation that Friday was a particularly kind of rugged kind of game, and this may be a different game which will allow you possibly to show your other skills more so on the ball rather than off the ball, even though you have to work off the ball, obviously?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that Ulster challenge, although we're up against a team that is a possession team in Ulster, they want to attack, they want to hang on to the ball. It was something they'd done really well against us previously. It was something that we needed to do well against them. So in a way, there were 2 running teams, but the nature of an Interpro and a knockout game, it was always going to be very attritional and a very tight affair. So, to go and play the Stormers with all the talent they've got, particularly in the back line and the back 3, there's a huge amount of firepower there. There's some pretty exciting players. But equally, you know, with that becomes a more open game, and there's turnovers and there's kick counter attacks, and there's all sorts of things to get your teeth stuck into. So I'd like to think we can, you know, we can certainly get ball in hand on the other side of it, and you know, I suppose show what we're about as much as what they're about as well.
Yeah, over now. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, David. Cheers.
Thanks, David. Jan?
Thank you very much, Pete. Jan de Koning, Rugby 365. Help me out here. I mean, I know you guys played in Stellenbosch in the round robin stages. How many of you guys have actually been at the stadium, and how familiar are these guys with the stadium in Cape Town in itself?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, we've not played at Cape Town Stadium itself. As you said, we've had the Stellenbosch game. You know, a few guys have been to Newlands before, but no, it'll be a new experience. You know, we've obviously seen it on the TV, how impressive it is, and no, we're really excited about the opportunities to play there. And if the crowd's anything like they had over the previous couple of weeks, it'll be a really exciting occasion for all teams. Yeah.
Yeah, the guys, there's a lot of talk about the surface. More particularly, I mean, you guys wouldn't be familiar with the surface, which has been pretty beat up. You got any plans for the surface that's more like a sand patch at the moment?
Yeah, we've certainly spoken to a few coaches that have coached against the Stormers there over recent weeks, and obviously we've seen the footage on the TV, and you know, it's something that's out of our control really. We get a few different surfaces floating around Europe. We're used to the artificial here now at the sports ground, but you know, it'll be slightly different surroundings. But we referenced it today in our team meeting, as we said, it's certainly no excuse not to I suppose try and impose our game on the Stormers, and you know, we'll just see when we get there. We'll get a chance to captain's run on it, and we'll see exactly what it is for ourselves when the time comes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jan. Cheers.
And Mick?
Thanks, Stephen. Hi, Pete. How are you?
Hi, good.
Just in terms of, you've won 11 of the last 14 URC games. What has been the key to that? It's very, very open-ended question, but
no, it's a good question. Look, I think part of it's a really good reflection that we've grown as a group, and as much as a cliche as that sounds, we have improved this year from where we started, and as we worked our way through the competition, I think we have got better. And I think the tough days, the difficult results, and some of the more challenging performances or underwhelming performances, we've used each one as a chance to grow and a chance to learn from. And as I said, it's no different. We beat Ulster, but we're looking for the aspects of the game where we could try and improve. So I think just as a group, as a rugby program, we're very much about improving and developing individually and collectively. So I think that's a massive part of it. I think as well comes that belief, and it's probably like any team, when they're winning more games than they're losing, you know, players start to believe that they not just go into games with greater confidence, but they can dig their way out of difficult situations within games and shift momentum. And whether that's momentum's coming from the referee or coming from the opposition or coming from your own errors, you genuinely have that experience to draw on, that you can come out the other side of it. So I think that feeds into the mental side of it, into the belief, and with that comes a real resilience. So you know, hopefully that's something we can continue to build over this week as well.
And you've had a couple of close encounters at home against the Stormers, and you come out the right side of it. Does that help you this week in terms of belief? Can it help?
Yeah, look, I think those games previously have been very different, certainly in terms of surroundings, certainly in terms of the stakes, probably in terms of some of the players that were involved. But I think when you're coming up against a team, it is helpful to know that you've put in performances against them previously. I don't think you can live off that. But it's certainly material to draw on. You know, we looked at Stormers footage today from them playing the Bulls on the weekend, and we looked at Stormers footage from when we played them in round 2. So all of it is material for, I suppose, building that game plan around, but also building that belief going into it. And you know, that's a key bit. But it's certainly a challenge that everyone's excited by and can't wait for.
Best of luck. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks.
Thanks, Mick. We'll come to Derek Foley next.
Hi, Pete. I'm going to disagree with your back three assessment. It's the back row wins games. Okay, your back row, have you just got lucky and Lego pieces have fallen into place, or is this 3 players in just outstanding form? How good are they, and how important are they going to be?
They're certainly in great form. I think with all of our back row selections, I think we've probably approached it as a bit of a horses for courses. And certainly when we were coming up against Ulster, we knew that they're a team, they wanted to have 120 carries, 130 carries in the game. They wanted to play a lot of phases against us. So it's important we had a back row that could disrupt that and break up those blocks of possession. At other times, we focused on guys that might have a a heavier presence around maul defence or around scrum. So it is a bit horses for courses for us, but certainly those three that played on the weekend are in really good form, and you have to respect that when you're looking at the team for the following week as well.
And give me 10 words on Shane Hurley-Langton.
Rugged, resilient, determined, unbelievably powerful for a man of his size. He's been brilliant, and we've seen glimpses of it this season. But I think he's now got the confidence he can impose his game on any sort of scenario. So it's an exciting time to be working with him.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Eric. We'll open up to one more person if anyone wants to come in.
Shane, I'm sorry, are we definitely sure Shane Hurley-Langton doesn't qualify for Ireland? It's like, it sounds ridiculous.
He definitely doesn't qualify for Ireland. No, he missed out by a generation.
And it's been investigated. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Okay, guys, if not, we'll leave it there then. Thanks to Pete. We'll be back to you. It could be a minute with Mac. It could be 10, 15 minutes. They're still finishing up a couple of things, but we'll be back to you when we can, okay?
Thanks
Thanks,
everyone.
Pete. Appreciate it.
Cheers.